Okay, so today on Breaking Formation, I have made myself a guinea pig, and Shea is going to brain spot me. I will be honest, I might be a little nervous, but we're gonna do it anyway. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Breaking Formation, the podcast where we tackle real-life challenges that are happening right now in an ever-changing world, especially with AI coming on board. I am your co-host, retired Air Force Colonel Merryl Tengestal, and I'm here with
Shea, Finney, licensed marriage and family therapist, here to talk to you today about trauma-informed care.
Yes. So today, Shea, as part of one of the episodes, wanted to do some brain spotting. I don't know anything about this. I just want to make sure that I feel like I'm going to get hypnotized in some way. And then when the bell rings, I'm going to start squawking like a turkey or a chicken outside.
That's the next episode, not this one.
Not this one.
We got to work our way up to it.
Okay. So what are we going to do today?
Okay, so we're going to do, it's a trauma technique. It's called Brainspotting. But before we launch into that, I just want to give a brief-ish conversation about our brain and how we process information and what happens in our brain when we're taking in information and why Brainspotting is so effective. So trauma-informed care is basically looking at how trauma affects our life. So in short, trauma is anything that overwhelms the brain and body's ability to cope and fully process. So as humans, we take in information through our brainstem, through our five senses. Fun fact is that our eyes are constantly scanning our environment to look for information, especially a perceived threat. And we process information at 300 miles per minute. So it's constantly taking in information at 300 miles per minute.
It's a little known fact, 300 miles, T-38s go 300 knots, so it's about 330 miles an hour, just saying. So if you're flying in a supersonic jet, the speed is usually about 300 knots. That's
wow.
very fast.
That is very fast.
Yes.
And the other fun fact with that is there is science showing that the material that is made of our eyes is also the same material that is our brains are made out of. So basically our eyes are just an extension of our brain, which is kind of a cool thing. So again, processing at 300 miles per minute takes in the information processed at the bottom part, subcortical part of your brain. If it is safe, if it is considered safe, everything's go. It's just a regular flow. It's a regular regulation. If it's unsafe, the brain kind of goes offline and we go into fight, flight, or freeze. So do this for me, if you will. Picture a cauliflower.
Cauliflower. Mm-hmm. Do I stare straight off?
No,
or?
This is just, we're not even going brain spotting yet. We're just thinking.
Okay.
So cauliflower.
Cauliflower
is a good way to describe how the brain looks, right?
Okay.
So the outside of the brain, outside of the cauliflower is like our cortex. And basically that is our long-term memory, our thinking part of our brain. So the outside core, so that's this part of our brain, so to speak, because our brains develop from the bottom up, inside out.
Okay.
We talked about this in episode 2 or something like that. So top part of the brain is the thinking brain. The middle part of the brain is our limbic system, which is our relational brain and our emotional brain. And then the bottom part of our brain is our survival brain. And that's really the basic part of our brain, is where all that autonomic functioning that happens without our conscious awareness is happening down in the subcortical brain. So information comes in, processes regularly. It's just nice normal flow through all regions of the brain. When information comes in that is perceived as a threat by our nervous system, watching videos on TikTok, a car slamming on their brakes in front of you, to whatever degree of the situation, what ends up happening if our brain can't fully process it, so we'll definitely take a picture of that and store it in a file folder for later use. And so basically, if there's no emotional charge, it goes up into the thinking part of the brain. So when this new information comes in, the brain then gets to filter it through this filing cabinet. So all experiences coming in 300 miles per minute gets processed, safe or unsafe, and goes in this file category based on how it makes us feel, not necessarily about the incident itself.
Okay. So
information comes in, the brain neural pathways will run over and say safe or unsafe, and we'll pull out information. So when we look at how we respond to threat or a perceived threat, again, we're using that in terms of our survival brain. What happens with trauma is it gets lodged. So because it is so overwhelming for the brain to process, it just gets stuck and jams up the neural pathways in the brain versus allowing that smooth regulation to happen. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So today we're going to do a technique called Brainspotting.
Yes.
And basically what that is using the eyes as a doorway, if you will, or gateway or whatever, to where that trauma for you, and we'll kind of isolate that, is located in that region of your brain. So the basic premise of Brainspotting was developed by a clinician named David Grant, and he was working with a champion figure skater, and she was trying to process through her fear of doing this particular jump. I think it was like a triple Lutz or something. I don't know what they're called. Okay. And so when he was processing through it, he noticed when she was talking, her eyes got stuck in a certain location, and she'd had this really, really, really deep process. And then noticed it, he took note of it, they continued to process on it. He was noticing what we call subcortical reflexes, which is twitching of the eyes, lips, mouth, eyes fluttering, swallowing, yawning, all of those subcortical reflexes. So he just let her stay looking at whatever she was looking at. She comes back to his office next week. She's like, I conquered the jump. I could do it. So basically out of that, and tons of research ensued, is what he isolated is where we look affects how we feel. And so when you are holding a fixed spot in your focal point, it's literally like a direct line to where that trauma is held in your brain. I brought some tools. And so we use three basic things. One, your brain always knows where you need to go to heal. So your brain will tell us a lot of times. The other thing is that we really access the body. So when we take in information, our body feels it first. So I'll ask the question, where are you experiencing that in your body? Maybe you'll notice your heart's beating faster. You got this pit in your stomach. Because again, our bodies feel that first before our brain can even process it.
Why is that? Is
it just through our senses? Okay. Yeah. It's that emotional center of our body, just feeling that information come in through our nervous system.
Okay.
So this is a typical setup for when I do a Brainspotting process, with the exception of I usually have a set of headphones available with bilateral music. Bilateral music is really important. I think I'll put it on in the background while we're doing this. But usually you're wearing a headphones. Okay. Because we want that bilateral stimulation with the brain. Again, brains develop bottom up, inside out. With bilateral music, it is accessing both the left and right, bottom and top hemispheres of your brain. Okay. And is actually allowing your brain to process new information. So typical setup, these are called our pointers. These are what we use when we isolate Don't worry, I'm not going to hit you with it. This is not a bibbity bobbity boo. Sometimes I feel like in that Men in Black, right? Like, have you ever seen Men in Black?
Yes.
You remember nothing.
Yes.
I kind of feel like that sometimes. But this is a typical setup. Some people like the little cutesy cartoon characters. I use a lot this with kids when I'm doing brain spotting with them. I've got probably 50 different toppers that kids can pick from, which is kind of cool. I didn't bring them all because not so many will pick in that.
You know, I resemble the mental state of a child.
I know, but well, you can either do the little bunny with a, what is that called? An umbrella? Not an umbrella, a rainbow. Well, that's how long my day's been. Or we have the fancy stone toppers. And so, and I always invite people to pick what stone kind of calls for them. Okay? And there's no rhyme or reason between the stones. We can also look at what the meaning of the stone is. I don't know what the blue one is, but I can look it up if you want at some point and let you know.
I'm curious.
But anyway, so usually ask you to pick one. So we have bilateral music playing in the background. And basically, again, right and left hemispheres, top and bottom. So you feeling yourself calm?
You know, before we started filming this, I am not calm.
So you're gonna entertain me, right?
I am. I'm here for your entertainment.
So let's see what your heart rate is at right now. Because one of the things also too, when we look at trauma or when we're experiencing high stress or toxic stress, we may look calm, cool, and collected on the outside, but our heart rate will tell us something different. So I'm curious to know where your heart rate is now, and then when we're done, what that's going to look like. Is it even reading it? Oh, you're pretty low. Does that say 84?
Oh. 61?
Are you breathing? What's your... Oh, and your oxygen's at 100. That's good. Did you do some deep breathing, or did you just, like, dissociate for a second?
As a pilot, we can compartmentalize very well.
Okay. I like it.
Shea's like, my work is cut out for me right now.
I like it. No, it makes it even better.
Oh, boy.
All right. So where are we at? 86? 80? What does that say?
Oh.
I can't read it.
Oh, it started at 61, but when I started laughing, it went up to 69.
Okay. All right. So.
Or as the kids say, 6, 7.
6, 7. So what I want you to do before we just get started, we're just going to do a quick demo, just kind of invite you to just come into your body for a minute.
Okay.
Just notice your butt bones on the chair. Just take some deep breaths. Why is that funny?
Because you said butt bone. I'm sorry. Okay.
Just notice. And then I'm going to ask you, where do you feel in your body the most calm right now?
Shoulders.
Shoulders. Okay. So now I know you kind of thought about a incident that you wanted to talk about or think about or process about.
Okay.
You don't have to tell me or the audience. If you do, that's totally fine.
I'll talk it through, but I won't say names.
Okay. So I want you just to kind of close your eyes and put yourself back into that situation, and then we'll get connected to the pointer. And I want you just to notice what shifts in your body. Where do you now notice stress? Just notice that.
Oh, my head. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we're going to use your shoulders and your head as kind of our baselines. So we'll keep coming back to that. So basically what I'm going to invite you to do is just, you can open your eyes now. And so what I want you to do is I'm going to move the pointer in 3 spots. First in front of you, my right, my left. And then I want you to notice just what shifts with the pressure in your head, okay? And then once we find a spot where you're quote unquote activated, where that feeling in your head kind of increases, we're going to just stay there and process. Okay?
Yes.
Stay here. Okay. Now I'm going to move to the right. Okay. And then I'm going to move to the left. All right. And then out of the three, was there a place where you felt a side that you felt more activated or where you were feeling it more in your head?
Probably left side.
My left?
You're right.
This side.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not great at my left and right, so I would not make a good pilot. Just keeping truth. So I want you just to notice when I move it up, what happens up there?
What happened? So, probably my jaw gets tenser.
I'm just going to keep it here. We could fine tune it. So now, and I'm just going to talk you through this first part, just because we have an audience. But for the most part, as the Brainspotting clinician, I'll keep mostly silent. Your brain will start pulling up random things from this file folder. It may not make sense at first, but your brain's, again, searching for meaning and making this connection based on how these events made you feel versus the actual event itself. So I just invite you to watch them as you process through them and as they're kind of shifting to find the event that you are bringing today.
Okay.
Are you at the event?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is a part also too where it's invitationally. You can talk it out. Some people are very quiet and internal in their process and don't talk at all, which is kind of the cool thing about Brainspotting. You're not forced to talk, or you can talk it out. And that's up to you.
Okay. Well, I'll talk about anything. What would you like me to talk about?
Just talk about what you notice coming up for you. And your story doesn't have to make sense to me or the audience. It just is your internal process.
Yes. Anger. Betrayal.
And where do you feel that in your body?
Jaw.
Okay.
Loneliness.
You feel that in your jaw too?
Probably gut.
Okay.
Probably relief. Probably that's all right now.
Okay. Are you seeing the event happen?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk out that part?
No, I kind of played like a movie in my head, just to certain parts. No, I was going in at something alone, which I shouldn't have, but I did. So, the sense of relief is that the thing that I had to go through was complete. And there was like really just not a lot of pain there that was there before. So,
Did something else just come up for you?
No, it's just the moment of, just that relief and that, it's kind of like relief is just coming up like peace.
How do you experience that in your body?
It's almost like shoulders and back are relaxed.
How's your head feeling?
It doesn't hurt as much.
Okay, and how's your gut?
It's fine.
Are you still seeing the event right now?
Just the end part.
Okay.
So it's not, in the beginning, thinking about it, it was, it was just, I think, a dark place, literally and figuratively. But in the end, it came out okay.
I'm just going to give you like a minute or so more just to kind of just breathe and see if you can release any more of that. See if you can come back to where you were in terms of the head pressure before you started. Let your brain do what it needs to do.
Do you want me to go back to the beginning?
No, just like when you were, whatever that looks like for you to feel most relaxed. All right, I'm just going to check in with you. How are you doing right now?
Good.
You feel like you're in a place where you can stop?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just release.
Okay.
Just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
How was that?
How do
you feel?
I think I feel pretty good. I feel pretty like I went sequentially through the incident and what happened. So, I mean, I could tell at first, like, I was pretty ticked off. But then it's interesting because what you did, there's just times if I'm I'm not sure if growing up I was able to, if you're playing a different song, like music is a big part of my life, that I can kind of go into those states of just concentration and do something. So I have been able to do that at a very young age, and sometimes like really focus, almost like a hyper fixation on something, and then to process certain things. So it's interesting because I think as a YouTube pilot, when you are by yourself and you are able to have those moments of silence, you can stare off into different places and think about certain things. And it's funny because people say, what is it like when you fly high altitude and you experience stuff? And I'm going to look at the camera guy, but sometimes you can just, it's almost the same. You're not hearing, well, you can hear music depending on when we're flying. We'll keep that part in. But it's almost like you face yourself and you think about those times or those moments, and you can actually work on stuff. So this time, I don't know if I was making any facial.
There were some.
Such as.
So it's interesting because you definitely use the word dissociate in that you can tell, of those of us that are really skilled at dissociation, right? We can just stick it in our back pocket and it's like poker face all day long, right?
Yes.
But you had some blinking. There was a little bit of a swallow. There was at one point your cheek or your lip kind of curled up my left. And so there was just some very subcortical reflexes, very minor. But again, we did not do a full session.
Right.
And so there wasn't that opportunity to fully process through it. Again, and we want the subcortical reflex because that is actually allowing the cellular memory to release that incident. Because again, it's your subcortical brain, your survival brain, that's saying, okay, this situation no longer is a threat to me. so I can release it. So when we have the subcortical reflexes like the swallowing, the chewing, the like lip smacking like I just did, that was me. My brain was trying to process and find the word, so I brought it up to my memory banks. But so again, we want that because it allows the brain to process and release the information.
Okay.
So, but there was also a shift for you too, because like you said, you started out angry, and then you went to a sense of relief. And so you must have done some work around this trauma before. No? Thought about it at least?
Oh, I've thought about it plenty of times.
Yeah. So again, we want to look at those things that bring us that emotional charge, because then we can release it that way.
Yes, I mean, I think one thing about me is that if there's an event that happens, I replay that quite a bit.
That overthinking.
I don't know. I don't know if it's overthinking, but there are just times like I'll take a moment, a snapshot, and go, "This is what happens. What is that? What really happened? Is that was just my perception? How could it have been done better? How could it have been handled better? What can I do next time?" Oh, I go through. It's almost like a constant debrief cycle when you're flying in a plane. So at the end, like, what could you do better? How can it be? Is this going to happen again? How will you react next time? So it's a constant, okay, if this occurs, we're going to use this instead of this. So that, yes. It plays, I don't think it's unhealthy, but you could tell me if it's not, but it plays a lot sometimes, just in general.
Well, it's not necessarily unhealthy, because it really just depends on if you're having that emotional experience with it, right? So if you can think about it without having the emotional charge, then that tells me that it's in that part of your memory that does not have it's just a meh, it's just a thing, right?
Yes.
But if you, like our conversation before we came in here today, you had a lot of emotion, you had a lot of passion. That means that there is some work, I'm going to air quote,
Yes.
being kind with that word, that you could do around that emotional charge, because more than likely the topic that we were talking about before we came in there's some trauma there. And so we can do some brain spotting around that and what that would look like for you at some point, or you're cool with just having that huge emotional charge, right? And so either way, it's okay. But some people, that emotional charge will affect them day to day, because they carry it, and the repetition that they have in their brain becomes, it interferes with their day-to-day life, or they can't fall asleep, or they're drinking to numb out that repetition, or they're doing things that aren't healthy for them so they can avoid that feeling.
So it becomes just exhausting. It just that, and I mean, okay, we could talk, like before we got in here, we talked about just some political stuff that's happening that is centered around women and people of color. And for me, as a woman of color, I identify as such, that there, I'm sorry.
I was trying to keep a poker face until this one over here chuckles.
There's certain things that are being said that I feel that are unwarranted and not fair. And it sometimes I feel that it puts into the credibility of the accomplishments that I have done.
Yeah.
And so it fires me up a little bit offline, and I can be cool in front of a camera and say things, but I think personally, when you constantly hear that criticism and other people start echoing things that might be half-truths, that it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
And so For me, I wasn't thinking about that there because I probably have flipped this table, but it is definitely something that recently I've been talking about. And I think when we first met up today, you were like, "Oh, you're low energy," probably because I'm exhausted about thinking about it. And that's interesting because I'm sure there are people who are in my position that are also just fatigued and exhausted of having to hear this and then step up their game to kind of justify their existence. And it's just this self-licking ice cream cone that people really
That's quite the analogy.
yes. So
Oh my God.
it gets very frustrating. So I get it. I mean, there are moments where I have spikes of discussing out loud very loudly.
Yeah. Well, and I think the important part is when we are trying to learn how to do that self-care piece, right? Obviously, you being a pilot in the environment and all of those things, you had to have very strong self-regulation skills, right? You had to know how to control yourself, control your breathing, go into a place where you're using all of yourself to be able to fly the planes, right? And please excuse my naiveness because I probably don't even have all the lingo. But okay, good. But that part is that self-regulation, right? But you're still a human, right? And so you still have that emotional response because your nervous system is still taking in that information. Yes. So first responders have a very, very high dissociation game. It's their super skill. You have to be able to dissociate to do your job. Fun fact, us therapists too, because otherwise we would just be run down ragged because we're hearing all the things that we hear on every given day. But again, your body's still taking in that information. And so important to pay attention to the head hurts, to the stomach aches and all of those things, because your body's trying to give you a signal that something's could be wrong.
Okay.
So especially when you're getting charged up, is just taking that moment of pause to know where you're at, like in terms of that self-inventory of like, okay, where am I at right now? And I saw you when you were watching one of the videos earlier. Oops, sorry. You had said you were just trying to pause and take in information, but you were also tapping on the table. You took a couple of deep breaths, which is also part of the self-regulation, which is huge.
Yes.
Again, self-regulation is great. And then that's what we need when we need to try to de-escalate ourselves to some extent.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Woo!
And yes, it is called voodoo magic for a reason. But I think the thing that's also important, it does work wonders, especially when there's very, very extreme trauma.
Yes.
Or in my work with first responders, I meet with first responders soon after a critical incident, when the incident is really flooding them and they aren't able to process it fully. Because again, when a traumatic incident happens, again, anything that your brain and body isn't able to cope with in the moment, or it's too much information, our brains will always look for the meaning of things. Our brains need a beginning, middle, and end, but it also can't tell time. And it doesn't know the difference between past, present, future, real, or perceived. Okay. But it's constantly searching for meaning. So if a traumatic event happens and you don't have an ending to it, your brain is going to go on repeat cycle to try to find the meaning of it, which can cause a lot of distress.
That's good to know. I will not try to be on repeat, but I mean, I've been doing it for a while, so I can.
Yeah, just putting those boundaries in place, right? Or okay, I'm in the rinse repeat cycle again. How do I take care of myself in this moment?
Yes.
So
takeaways from this. Number one, if you have some trauma or things that you need to work out, sooner rather than later.
100%.
Okay, sooner rather than later. Don't let it jam your file cabinet.
Right. Put a roadblock in your neural pathways.
Yes, and if you do work it through, it might take more if people haven't brain spotted before, try it, see if it works, and it may be something worthwhile.
Yeah, and the thing to know with, again, there are many, many different techniques out there for therapy. This is just one of the trauma-informed care. This is, an evidence-based. There's a lot of research, a lot of science that backs how brain spotting can rewire the neurons and the neural pathways in your brain. But there's also EMDR. There's also somatic. It's all kind of wrapped up into one, but there are so many different avenues.
Okay.
And when you're looking for therapy, make sure you figure out which one works for you, because it's not a one size fits all, because therapy is more about the relationship versus the quick answers.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I'm going to need a nap because now I'm tired. Oh, do I have to check my...
Oh, yeah, let's do that. But you have to keep it at, well, I think you're like calm. Maybe she's higher now. What is it? I can't see it upside down. Like 60?
61, 62.
Yeah, you were right. That's that U2 fighter skills.
I'm always cool, calm, and collected.
Oof. Yeah.
Even in moments of...
chaos.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I try to be the eye.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a reminder that anything discussed in this podcast today is not for you to diagnose, treat, or prevent yourself. Please seek a professional.
I got my caseload's full. No joke.
All right. Have a great day.